In the annals of history, there are countless stories of individuals who have courageously fought against the forces of oppression and domination. One such story is that of Traore, a remarkable figure who defied Western powers and stood up for the sovereignty of his nation. This video aims to shed light on Traore's struggle against Western powers, uncovering the untold aspects of his life, his rise to power, his policies, and the ultimate downfall that followed. Traore's story is not only a testament to the resilience of the human spirit but also a reminder of the complex dynamics between powerful nations and the nations they seek to influence. In today's episode, we explore an enthralling topic that has been capturing attention worldwide: the reason behind Traore's battle with Western power. Join us as we uncover the underlying factors and motivations driving this conflict. And don't forget, you can show your support by clicking the first link in the description to buy us a cup of coffee. Your contribution, no matter how small, helps us continue delivering insightful content. To understand Traore's struggle against Western powers, it is crucial to delve into the historical context of the time. Traore emerged as a prominent leader during a period of intense decolonization efforts in Africa. Many African nations were striving for independence and self-determination, seeking to break free from the shackles of colonial rule. This backdrop set the stage for Traore's fierce resistance against Western powers, as he aimed to protect his country's autonomy and preserve its cultural heritage amidst the encroaching influence of the West. Traore's early life played a significant role in shaping his determination to challenge Western powers. Born into a humble family in a small village, Traore experienced firsthand the hardships faced by his people. He witnessed the disparities in wealth and power, realizing that his nation was being exploited by external forces. This realization fueled his desire to bring about change and fight for the rights of his fellow countrymen. Traore's upbringing instilled in him a deep sense of patriotism and a commitment to defending his nation's interests at all costs. As Traore rose to power, he quickly became a symbol of resistance against Western influence. He rallied his people, uniting them under the banner of national pride and sovereignty. Traore implemented policies that aimed to reduce dependence on Western nations, promoting self-sufficiency and economic empowerment. His government invested heavily in education, healthcare, and infrastructure, ensuring that the nation's resources were utilized for the benefit of its citizens. These initiatives threatened the interests of Western powers, who sought to maintain control and exploit the country's resources for their own gain. Traore's policies had a profound impact on his country and its people. By prioritizing education, he empowered a new generation of intellectuals and professionals who could contribute to the nation's development. The healthcare system underwent significant improvements, leading to a decline in mortality rates and an overall improvement in public health. Infrastructure projects created jobs and enhanced connectivity, stimulating economic growth. The country began to assert itself on the global stage, gaining recognition for its achievements in various fields. Traore's policies were transformative, fostering a sense of pride and hope among his people. As Traore's regime gained momentum, Western powers grew increasingly concerned about the potential loss of influence in the region. They utilized various tactics to undermine his government, including economic sanctions, political pressure, and covert operations. Western media outlets launched a propaganda campaign, vilifying Traore and distorting the reality of his policies. Despite these challenges, Traore remained resolute, refusing to bow down to external pressures. His unwavering commitment to his people and his nation's sovereignty became a source of inspiration for many around the world. Unfortunately, Traore's struggle against Western powers eventually led to his downfall. The combined efforts of Western powers, both overt and covert, destabilized his government and eroded public support. Internal divisions and external interference culminated in a coup d'état, overthrowing Traore and plunging the nation into chaos. The aftermath of Traore's downfall was devastating, as the country struggled to find stability and regain its footing. The legacy of his struggle against Western powers became a cautionary tale, illustrating the challenges faced by those who dared to challenge the status quo. Despite the tragic end to Traore's reign, his struggle against Western powers left a lasting legacy. He inspired a new generation of leaders who continue to fight for the sovereignty and self-determination of their nations. His story serves as a reminder that the pursuit of independence and autonomy is not without sacrifice, but it is a pursuit worth undertaking. Traore's legacy also highlights the importance of unity and resilience in the face of adversity, as well as the need for global solidarity to counteract the influence of dominant powers. Traore's story offers valuable lessons for both leaders and citizens alike. It underscores the significance of prioritizing national interests and preserving cultural heritage in the face of external pressures. It teaches us the importance of investing in education, healthcare, and infrastructure as pillars of progress and development. Traore's struggle also emphasizes the need for vigilance and unity in the face of external interference and attempts to undermine national sovereignty. The reasons behind Ibrahim Traore's tension with Western powers, particularly France, are complex and multifaceted. Here's a breakdown. 1. Legacy of French influence and frustration with anti-insurgency efforts. France has held significant political and economic influence in Burkina Faso for decades. Traore, a young military leader, represents a new generation frustrated with the perceived inefficiency of French counterinsurgency efforts against militant groups like Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. He seeks a more independent approach, questioning the effectiveness of French military presence and exploring partnerships with other countries like Russia. France's long-standing presence in Burkina Faso, dating back to colonial times, casts a shadow over the relationship. Traore, representing a younger generation, embodies a desire for greater autonomy and less reliance on former colonial powers. The ongoing struggle against militant groups has been protracted and costly, leading to widespread frustration in Burkina Faso. Traore questions the effectiveness of French-led operations, particularly in addressing the root causes of conflict and fostering long-term stability. Traore's government may believe France's emphasis on traditional military tactics has yielded limited results. They might explore alternative approaches, such as focusing on development, community engagement, and regional cooperation. Burkina Faso is seeking new allies in the fight against militancy. Traore's openness to partnering with countries like Russia reflects a desire to break free from France's sphere of influence and explore potentially more effective strategies. 2. France's alleged support of the ousted president. Traore rose to power through a coup d'état in September 2022, deposing President Damiba. France initially condemned the coup, and rumors circulated of French involvement in sheltering Damiba. This fueled distrust and anti-French sentiment within the new regime, contributing to the tension. France's long-standing political and economic influence in Burkina Faso created a perception of interference in internal affairs. This pre-existing distrust made the allegations against France more readily believable. France's initial condemnation of the coup and subsequent silence regarding Damiba's whereabouts further fueled speculation and suspicion. The lack of clear communication created an environment where rumors could easily flourish. Certain political actors within Burkina Faso may have used the alleged French involvement to their advantage, rallying support against France and solidifying their positions within the new government. The rumors significantly eroded trust between France and the current Burkinabe government. This has led to strained diplomatic relations and hampered efforts at cooperation in addressing the country's challenges. The accusations against France inadvertently helped legitimize Traore's position by portraying him as a leader standing up to foreign interference. This narrative resonated with the anti-French sentiment within the country and strengthened his grip on power. The allegations created a climate of suspicion and hostility towards France, potentially leading to increased tensions and instability within the region. 3. Resource control and disagreements over tactics. Some analysts see Traore's stance against France as a strategic move to gain control over Burkina Faso's natural resources and negotiate more favorable economic terms. Additionally, his preference for a more aggressive approach against militants, potentially involving civilian militias, may clash with France's focus on human rights and international law during military operations. The country boasts significant natural resources, including minerals, gold, and fertile land. France has historically held significant economic influence in the extraction and trade of these resources. Traore's government may view France's involvement as unfavorable for Burkina Faso's economic development and seek greater control over its resources. This could involve renegotiating existing agreements or exploring partnerships with other countries. Public discontent with France's economic role could be used as leverage by Traore's government to push for more favorable terms, potentially further straining relations. Traore favors a more aggressive approach against militant groups, potentially involving civilian militias, and less focus on international law compliance. This approach aims for faster results but raises human rights concerns. France, along with other Western powers, prioritizes compliance with international law and human rights during military operations. This often leads to slower progress and clashes with Traore's preferred tactics. The differing approaches could lead to misunderstandings, miscalculations, and even friction between the Burkinabe and French forces, potentially escalating tensions in the region. 4. Geopolitical context and the rise of Russia. The global shift towards multipolarity plays a role. Traore's willingness to consider partnerships with Russia, a competitor to Western powers in Africa, further strains relations with France and the West. This complex geopolitical landscape adds another layer to the existing tensions. Ibrahim Traore's openness to partnerships with Russia, a rising competitor to Western powers in Africa, undoubtedly adds another layer of complexity to the existing tensions between Burkina Faso and France. The traditional world order dominated by Western powers is undergoing a significant shift towards multipolarity. This means the emergence of new power centers like Russia, China, and India, challenging the West's dominance in global affairs. African countries are increasingly seeking to diversify their partnerships and leverage these new options to gain greater economic and political autonomy. Traore's government, facing challenges like the ongoing insurgency and economic hardship, might view Russia as a potential strategic partner offering alternative solutions and resources. This pragmatic approach prioritizes Burkina Faso's interests and seeks to break free from the perceived limitations of traditional partnerships with France. Russia sees Africa as a fertile ground for expanding its influence, countering Western dominance, and securing access to natural resources. Offering military support, economic deals, and diplomatic backing, Russia seeks to gain footholds in strategically important countries like Burkina Faso. 5. Colonial legacy. France's long-standing influence in Burkina Faso, dating back to colonial times, creates a backdrop of resentment and a desire for autonomy. Traore, representing a younger generation, embodies this desire for a break from French dominance. France ruled Burkina Faso, formerly Upper Volta, from 1896 to 1960, imposing political, economic, and cultural structures that favored the colonizer. This left a lasting legacy of resentment and a yearning for independence that continues to resonate with many citizens. Traore represents a generation born after independence but raised in the shadow of colonialism's effects. They have witnessed the limitations of the post-colonial system and the continued influence of France in various spheres. This generation desires a break from the perceived dependence on France and seeks to build a future for Burkina Faso on its terms, free from external interference. Traore's government's actions, like diversifying international partnerships and questioning France's military involvement, can be seen as expressions of this desire for autonomy. Public sentiment in Burkina Faso often reflects this anti-colonial sentiment, with growing calls for self-reliance and a re-evaluation of the relationship with France. 6. Frustration with counterinsurgency. The ongoing fight against militant groups like Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State has been slow and costly. Traore questions the effectiveness of French-led operations, seeking alternative strategies and potentially questioning France's commitment to the cause. Years of fighting against militant groups like Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State have taken a heavy toll on Burkina Faso. The population endures human losses, economic hardship, and instability. Traore, representing a new generation, likely feels the burden of this protracted conflict keenly and questions its effectiveness in achieving lasting peace and security. Traore may view the current French-led tactics as limited in scope and impact, failing to address the root causes of militancy or foster long-term solutions. He might seek alternative strategies that emphasize development, community engagement, and regional cooperation, potentially offering a more holistic approach. Traore's openness to exploring partnerships with other countries, like Russia, reflects a desire for diversification and potentially finding more effective approaches. This move could be seen as a way to reduce reliance on France and gain access to different resources, expertise, and perspectives in tackling the insurgency. 7. Coup d'état and anti-French sentiment. Traore's rise to power through a coup in 2022, followed by rumors of French support for the ousted president Damiba, fueled anti-French sentiment in Burkina Faso. This suspicion further strained relations and created a trust deficit. Following the 2022 coup, whispers of French support for Damiba spread like wildfire, despite lacking concrete evidence. These rumors, fueled by a pre-existing distrust towards France, significantly eroded trust between the two nations. The lack of transparency surrounding Damiba's whereabouts and France's initial silence further fueled suspicion and anger, leading to a significant trust deficit. France's long-standing political and economic influence in Burkina Faso, dating back to colonial times, created a fertile ground for anti-French sentiment to take root. The perception of France prioritizing its interests over those of Burkina Faso in the past could have contributed to the susceptibility of these rumors. Domestic political actors seeking to consolidate their power might have used these rumors to their advantage, further straining relations with France. 8. Resource control and economic disparity. Burkina Faso is rich in natural resources, yet the population faces widespread poverty. Traore's government may be seeking greater control over these resources and renegotiating economic terms with France, possibly explaining the friction. The country boasts significant natural resources, including gold, minerals, and fertile land. These resources hold immense potential for economic development and poverty alleviation. However, historical agreements and power dynamics have often led to unequal distribution of benefits from resource extraction, with a significant portion of the wealth flowing out of the country and failing to alleviate widespread poverty. Traore's government might view the current system of resource control as disadvantageous for Burkina Faso, with France and other foreign entities holding significant influence over extraction and trade. They may seek to renegotiate existing agreements, increase transparency, and gain greater control over their resources to ensure fairer distribution of benefits and drive sustainable development. France has maintained significant economic and political ties with Burkina Faso since colonial times. This legacy includes involvement in resource extraction and trade agreements, which have been criticized for benefiting foreign interests over local communities. Traore's desire to renegotiate these agreements could be seen as a challenge to France's historical influence and economic dominance in the region, potentially contributing to the current friction. The pursuit of greater resource control and renegotiation could lead to friction between Burkina Faso and France, particularly if the process is not transparent or inclusive. This friction could hinder cooperation on other crucial issues, such as security and development. However, successful renegotiation and increased control over resources could potentially lead to greater economic benefits for Burkina Faso and contribute to poverty reduction. 9. Diversification of partnerships. Traore is exploring partnerships with other countries like Russia, presenting a challenge to France's traditional dominance in the region. This geopolitical shift towards multipolarity adds to the tension, as the West views Russia as a competitor. Ibrahim Traore's exploration of partnerships with countries like Russia undoubtedly presents a challenge to France's traditional dominance in Burkina Faso and the broader region. This shift towards multipolarity adds a layer of complexity to the existing tensions, as the West views Russia as a competitor with its agenda. France has historically held significant political and economic influence in Burkina Faso, dating back to colonial times. This influence encompasses military cooperation, resource extraction agreements, and cultural ties. Traore's government's willingness to explore partnerships beyond France marks a significant shift from this traditional relationship, potentially challenging France's established position in the region. The global order is undergoing a shift from unipolarity dominated by the West towards multipolarity, where new powers like Russia, China, and India are playing a more prominent role. African countries are increasingly seeking to diversify their partnerships to leverage these new options and gain greater strategic autonomy. 10. Military tactics and human rights concerns. Traore's preference for a more aggressive approach against militants, potentially involving civilian militias, raises concern about human rights violations. This clashes with France's focus on international law and human rights during military operations, creating further friction. France, along with other Western nations, emphasizes adherence to international law and human rights principles during military operations. This includes minimizing civilian casualties, protecting the human rights of detainees, and ensuring accountability for violations. This approach, while aiming to prevent harm to innocent civilians, can be perceived as slow and ineffective against ruthless militant groups. Traore's preference for aggressive tactics directly clashes with France's focus on human rights. This can lead to friction and misunderstandings, potentially jeopardizing cooperation and hindering the overall fight against militancy. France might view Traore's approach as reckless and potentially counterproductive, undermining the legitimacy of the fight against militants. Conversely, Traore could perceive France's concern for human rights as hindering effective action and protecting the militants. Implementing a more aggressive strategy without proper safeguards can lead to human rights violations and exacerbate existing tensions within Burkina Faso. Increased civilian casualties and displacement could fuel anti-government sentiment and strengthen the support for militant groups. The potential involvement of civilian militias adds further complexity, as they often lack proper training and oversight, increasing the risk of abuses. Traore's struggle against Western powers is a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who dare to challenge the established order. His story is a reminder that the fight for independence and self-determination is not an easy path, but one that is worth pursuing. The legacy of Traore's struggle continues to inspire and ignite discussions about the complex dynamics between powerful nations and the nations they seek to influence. As we reflect on Traore's journey, let us remember the sacrifices made and the lessons learned, as we strive for a world where every nation can determine its destiny. As we conclude this episode, it becomes evident that Traore's battle with Western power is rooted in a multitude of factors, including geopolitics, resource interests, and ideological clashes. Understanding these complexities is crucial to grasping the full picture. We appreciate your support in helping us bring you in-depth analyses like this. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content on global affairs, remember to click the first link in the description to buy us a cup of coffee. Your support empowers us to continue investigating and shedding light on the world's most pressing issues. Thank you for watching, and until next time. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos.